Welcome to the Dad 77 podcast. Today we're going to talk about something that actually took place. I was involved in it. Names shall remain a mystery, except mine. But what I wanted to talk about is practical faith. Now, I did a whole series on faith, and you can go back and look at them, and we're not talking about that, but that's good information about what faith is. But when it comes to what is faith and how it affects each one of us, and that if you go to Romans 12:3, it says, "For through grace given to me, I say to everyone among you, to not think more highly of himself than he ought to think, but to think so that as to have sound judgment, as God has allotted to each a measure of faith." So Paul writing tells us that we are all given a measure of faith. Doesn't really indicate what that measure is, or how much it is, or how little it is, but that we've been given it. So we all have faith. We all, walk by faith, not by sight. And when you talk about faith, it's like, what is faith? And Hebrews 11:1. Everyone knows it. If you don't know it, look it up and read it. But faith is kind of like God goo. It's God stuff. It's where God traffics. For Him to be pleased with us, we must be in faith. For us to follow Him and believe in Him and do His work, we must have faith. It's that operating substance that God deals with and uses us, and that we have in God. I'm not sure you could hear that, but it's thundering outside. But what I want to talk about is practical faith. And when I say practical faith, it's like, how do we practice the faith, that measure of faith that we have? How do we walk by faith, not by sight? How do we know if we're in faith and doing things in faith, or we're just, doing them on our own? And that's a real hard thing for me, because I'm a doer. So if something needs done, then go do it. But sometimes when you step back and say, okay, now I need to work faith with this situation, sometimes God says, hold up, check with me, kind of thing. Sorry, adjusted the camera a little bit. And then the thing is, how do we build our faith? How do we strengthen our faith? How do we exercise our faith and make it stronger and really not more readily available? Because we've been given that measure of faith, and you could even look at that and actually state that is the faith that we need at any given situation. We have that measure of faith. These are some of the questions, though, that Christians, including myself, struggle with is how do we do that? If you read Acts and you see how they were led by the Spirit and they did a lot of faith things, and that it's like, how do we do that? And sometimes I think that in other countries, like third world countries, where they don't have the readily available stuff that we have available to us, that a lot of that stuff that we take for granted, they have to have faith that God will provide and God will do the things that they need done. You ever heard the saying, I know a guy? Well, I know a guy. And this guy was struggling with some medical issues, and I've already in previous things said, I'm a medical person. And as they were considering this issue, in that they made a conscious, meaning him and his wife, made a conscious decision that this was not just a medical issue, it manifested that way, but this was a spiritual attack from Satan, that they needed to exercise their faith and stand against it, that it was an actual attack from the enemy. And if you think about it, the enemy, how is he going to attack you? He's going to draw your attention. He's going to have things more important than your family, God, church. Everything that is going to pressure you to get you away from doing God things and relying on God. But they had made a decision through prayer, and that this was an attack of Satan. Now, so this guy, I consider a man of God, taught me and my son some very important things in life that, sometimes just like a mule, you have to take a 2x4 and hit him over the head for it to sink in. But through years of being consistent, has shown different things about God that me myself was like, I need to do this also. So this man of God had determined that this was an attack by Satan, and that he was standing in faith and standing in prayer, that God's was sufficient, that God would take care of this, and God would have his way in this situation before anything else. And believe me, he had all kinds of people come to him and, hey, you need to go to the ER. Hey, you need to go to the doctor. Hey, you need to get on some medicine. Hey, you need to do all these other things. And he's like, no, that ain't gonna happen, because he had determined that this was an attack from Satan, not a medical issue. It just manifested that attack through health issues. So me being the medical person, and was like, and also a Christian, and I'm like, okay, I get that, but how about some natural things that could help in this situation? And actually worked up some stuff and got him the stuff, and it's not going to the doctor, it's whatever. It's just natural stuff that would help with some of the symptoms. So he gets it in the mail, and he takes it, and the next day I text him and go, "Hey, how you doing?" And he called me, and I answered the phone. Too much to text? And he was like, "Yeah, way too much to text." And he goes, "I had the worst night of my life." And I'm like, "Really? Were you having trouble breathing? What?" And he goes, "My stomach was on fire. It hurt. I felt like I had to throw up. I couldn't throw up. I was just in misery." And he said, I was up all night. I was praying all night. I was praying, for deliverance and all this stuff. And then he gets his wife up, and they're praying and stuff. And all of a sudden, it dawns on him, maybe this is because I took that stuff and not relying on God. So when he came to that conclusion, he prayed and he said, "Lord, forgive me for, taking that stuff, not relying on you, trying to do it myself, and that I repent of that, and I'm going to rely on you and trust you and believe in you and have faith in you." In 5 minutes, the stomach pain and the burning all went away, and he went back to all his normal bodily functions, and he was back to normal. And he said, "I am much better now than even one before." So I was just kind of like, wow. I guess that's a real confirmation that this, in fact, is a place that you need to be standing, and you need to be on guard and fighting all the good intentions. I had good intentions when I sent him that stuff, because it's just natural stuff. It'll just help with the symptoms and that. But yet, again, that goes back to me being a doer. Well, let's do something. Well, sometimes let's do something is the wrong thing, and the right thing is to, hey, let's stay on our knees and pray, seek God, seek His face, and have Him do the delivering, because He is the deliverer. He is the resurrection. He is the all-powerful one, and that. So I wanted to bring this story up in relation to the faith and the practical faith, but it's something that, if you take this situation, and you can put whatever situation you have in your life, it doesn't have to be medical, it could be financial, it could be a relationship, it could be kids, it could be job, whatever that is. The important thing here that kind of smacked me, and that was, the real answer is not in what's in my head. The real answer is not in what I know. The real answer to our situations is God, is Jesus, is the Holy Spirit, and listening to them and doing what they tell you to do. So the idea of practicing your faith is, it starts with knowing God and getting alone with God and being in that relationship with God. So God will say, hey, I need you to do this. Hey, I want you over here. Hey, you shouldn't be here. You should be over here. Those kinds of things, and allow God to lead and direct. This was a huge learning experience for me in regard to faith, and the practicality of faith is if you're alone with God and you've determined that something is happening and that you need to stand in faith, and you need to you exercise your faith and believe in God, and that is way more important than what our little minds can dream up and think of. So consider that with whatever situation you're going through right now. Consider getting alone with God and staying there until you get the God answer. And I think that story just shows that how much we try and get in and tweak things, but yet God's like, no. Just, I got it. Just stay with me, and I will get you through this, and you will grow through this, and you will learn through this, and just stay in the faith that you started in, and we're growing that faith. So that's a lesson that I think that we all can learn on not only exercising our faith, but knowing that not only are we exercising that faith against Satan, but that also against good intentions of people, good intentions in our mind, and how to clear all that out and let God direct and God lead and God guide you in that. So again, this is 77 The Dad podcast. You can contact me at 77thedad77@gmail.com. And if you have any questions, I can answer them. If you have anything that you want to hear about, discuss, or find out about, leave me a note, email me, and learn to exercise and practice your faith. Y'all have a good day.